Hello everyone, this is your captain speaking. Welcome on board of our aircraft on our journey to the cloud. Our flight today will take approximately 1 hour and we will fly over some very important things like the MyQ Roger introduction, just for a case that we would be having here someone who has not seen MyQ Roger before. I will just go over short demonstration of the main philosophy and the approaches of MyQ Roger and for which markets it's actually intended. Then we will go through the most important part of today's presentation, the new features and new licensing, everything explained to the detail you need to be able to offer it to your customers. We'll also describe how we can actually scale it to, cover everyone you will encounter, from a small company to a big corporate account. And as the last topic of today, we've got the topic called What is Coming Next. Those of you that are joining our sessions quite often know what is probably on the menu, but for those who not, you will see at the end of today's session. So that's pretty much everything for today. So buckle up as we're about to take off. As I've mentioned at the beginning of the agenda, and let's now be a bit more serious, that was my introduction, we will be talking about the MyQ Roger and what the Roger is about. Now, for those of you who have not had the chance to see Roger in action and don't know exactly what is it about, I've just prepared a short demonstration, like 5 to 10 minute stops, where I will explain what the Roger is about, what's its actual essence. Now, as you probably guessed, MyQ is working on the printing solution, so Roger is a printing solution, just with the difference that it's a solution that is designed to work completely in the cloud-based environment. So as it comes to that, I will start first with the brief introduction of the actual targets or markets on which we are targeting. Generally, MyQ Roger is focusing on markets when we are talking about the high automation, about companies where a server is basically a root word, where they do not want to get bothered by the unnecessary management of tools, hardware, or anything. The only thing they need to do when it comes to printing, because it's it's not the most essential thing when you are running business, they don't want to get bothered by the stuff behind that. So for that, they just would like to have everything in the cloud, ideally complete outsourced service they don't have to care about. They just know that it's available and they can use it anytime they need it and pretty much from anywhere in the world. Which gets us to the actual second point, where we are talking about companies that are working in the international scale, where the most important focus is the efficiency and availability of the services whenever I am. So if I will be in South America, in the US, or in Asia, it wouldn't matter. I can just connect to any machine that is equipped with the application and start working without any additional effort that would, cost me the valuable time I can then use to focus on the actual business. Now, another sort of customers or users on which MyQ Roger is targeting on is then the users that are, again, working on different space of the world. Basically, we can say that it can focus on the, co-working centers, places with high fluctuation of users, like, for example, even libraries or schools. Basically, places where you will just come, you will register, do your job, and maybe not even return. You will just pay for what you've done, for what you've printed, copy, or scan, and you might never ever return. Next time you'll be sending, instead of London, you'll be sending in New York, and you'll be doing the same, just on a different place. So that's actually the target audience of MyQ Roger. But it's not only that, because there are a few more users which can use it, as you will see over the course of my presentation. Starting first with the explanation of how MyQ Roger works. At the moment, we've got 3 data centers for the perfect coverage of all our customers. Those that are in Europe are, of course, covered by the European data boundary, so you don't have to be afraid about any data leaking outside of European Union. Now, when it comes to the data centers, those are there to be able to establish the service for everyone who would like to work with the solution to manage it. On the other hand, as you will also see as part of the presentation, we are not actually working with your data or data of your customers, meaning the actual physical copies or of your documents or scans, prints, anything you'll be working with as part of the flow. So the way it works, so first we will speak about the users, because the essence to make it work is to have your account as part of MyQ Roger. The first and the easiest option, which will be the one for the co-workings, the one for the libraries, is an option to self-register. For that, you can use your cell phone or a web UI. But of course, the cell phone application is much easier because you'll just simply download the app. You will register using your Apple ID, Google account, or Microsoft account, and you can basically start working. The other option, which is focusing on a little bit more corporate users, is the option of synchronization, which can be done, for example, from the MS Intro ID or using an Excel from other databases. So, how does it work? How it is actually to be working with MyQ Roger? There are two main approaches, two main ways of how it can be done, two main concepts, if you want to call it that way. The first one is the typical user in a company. We call this concept an on-premise concept because it's focusing on the standard user whose task is to be there from 9 to 5, do their job, manage all the documents, and then when they are finished, they just leave the office. They don't want to be bothered by anything. They'll be working with the company computer, and they just want everything to be as simple as possible. So for them, there are a few ways how they can actually print while being in the cloud. The first option here is the use of the MS Universal Print. Through that, you can pretty much work from whenever you are, from any office, even from home. So if your company decided to go with the MyQ Universal Print, you can just use that because the MyQ Roger acts as a printer that is shared over the Universal Print, allowing you to send the jobs and securely release them on any of the machines that are connected. Another option, which will be more typical for the office worker, will be printing using drivers. For that, there are multiple options, like for some machines, it's a direct printing using the drivers, or in a case it's not available, you can use our application called MyQ Roger Client, which will kind of act as a tiny server collecting your jobs and releasing them on the machines upon successful authentication. Definitely everything secured using SNMP and other security protocols to make sure that you are printing it on the machine where you like to be and printing only your documents. Another option, about which we will speak a bit more later, is then an option to use the cloud storage. Now, and typical organization these days were using OneDrive Business on a daily basis. And that was actually one of the ideas of our developers in MyQ Roger, where we decided to use OneDrive as the default printing queue. Now, you can use the drivers, as I spoke about that before, but using the OneDrive actually gives us one more option, that your printing queue is not relevant on any physical server, computer, or anything. It's up there in a cloud, and that way can be available from whenever you are. The only thing you would need is to have connection to internet, either from your computer or simply only just the machine and your mobile phone. There are multiple options of how it can be used, but the main thing behind that is that whenever you will upload a special folder that MyQ Roger automatically creates on your cloud storage, whatever is in that folder automatically appears in the printing queue on the machine when you will authenticate. Now, this approach actually gets us closer to the second concept of MyQ Roger. Now, I'm presenting it as a second one, but it was actually the main idea behind MyQ Roger. The idea was to make sure that you can print from whenever you are, you can manage your documents, you can, browse your cloud storage as you'll be traveling, because you'll be using your mobile phone. For that, you can easily download the MyQ Roger application from the Google Play or App Store, register either to your personal account, or if it's a company account, you can use the company tenancy. And from that moment, you can manage everything directly from your phone. We're using the same principle I've mentioned before. Your OneDrive or your Google Drive can easily become your printing queue. So whenever you will either select on any of these storages or you will upload there, can appear on your MFD and become the file you would like to print. Now, important thing for you, those that are really like about security, those that don't want to share your jobs with others, which is logical if you're printing something confidential related to your business, you don't have to be afraid. Now, as you are using your own cloud storage, it's the only place where the job will actually stay. MyQ Roger only takes the statistics of your printout, but the copies of your documents are always staying on your OneDrive, or when you will authenticate on a device, it will go there and be printed on that device. So that was about, what MyQ Roger is and what is behind that. Now let's look more from the, I'd say, market positioning. There are a few things I would like to highlight. Now, the MyQ Roger is on the market for quite some time. It's actually almost 3 years, and there's been a lot of, discussions about that. And I just would like to get rid of some rumors that are absolutely not true. And one of them was actually kind of weird because I've heard different ones like that it's intended only for small businesses, or on the other end, only for the big ones who can afford the cloud infrastructure and everything. And what I would like to demonstrate as part of my presentation today is that none of these rumors is actually true. And I will demonstrate it on the typical accounts of the MyQ Roger. So when you're talking about a typical small customer, let's say it will be a customer of around 50 users, 2 MFDs, mostly having everything in the cloud because they simply do not want to have additional infrastructure. But at the same time, one of our biggest customers of MyQ Roger currently onboarded 53,000 users, over 2,000 devices that are using MRC and mobile phone and managing everything using Intune. So as you can see, that can be applied to small businesses as well as the big corporates that are working around the globe. And basically anything in between. So what I wanted to demonstrate by that is basically MyQ Roger is for any customer. It's only about your imagination and about the features and the scalability you will apply to actually get the right features for your customer. Now, another rumor I would like to kind of get rid of as part of today's demo is the one that nobody would like to use the mobile phone at the office, or they are not allowed. I know. It might be truth in some countries and in some companies, which is logical, and it's for security reasons, which later I will explain that it's not even that, but I understand the concerns. And the thing is that someone might be complaining that they are not able to use the mobile phone in their office. Actual statistics from the Google Play will say otherwise. So at the moment, we're talking about a little bit over 500,000 downloads, which comparing to the previous year is a large increase in the number of used applications of MyQ Roger. So I believe not even that you are not allowed or not able to use a mobile phone really applies. It just depends on the organization. So that was my introduction. Now let's focus on the most important part of today, the actual new features according to licenses. And what I will do as part of this part of the demo is I will show the individual licenses and what you will be actually getting from them. Starting first with the basic and default one, the DWA or Digital Workplace Assistant license. It's a standard as a subscription per MFD. Basically the license you've been probably using up to now for all the installations. Part of that, you get the printing, scanning, and complete management using your mobile phone. It's the actual main license of MyQ Roger, because you will need it for any project where you would like to use the Roger at your customers. Any other license, I'll be talking about that, is just an add-on to this one. So let's explain what you will get as part of the MyQ Digital Workplace Assistant. First, you will get the access to the mobile application. You can say that, okay, I got that even for the free one, which is available for everybody, which is true. But there are a few features which are intended only to be used together with the embedded terminal. So what you will be getting are additional options of login, like the NFC, low frequency Bluetooth, or a QR code that, for your information, is a dynamic one. So we are not using any static component which could be copied. It allows the user to manage their workflows, manage their print jobs, and use an OCR as part of the scanning. So if you'll be uploading a file to your OneDrive, you can just simply process it by an OCR. And again, that OCR is part of your mobile application. Your files are not uploaded to any third-party software, any other cloud storage outside your area. It stays in your hands. It provides the access to the cloud storage, provides the personal reports of every user, and one of my favorite features, the option to control the device using your voice. So for example, for someone with impaired vision, where it might be a problem to read the descriptions of the buttons, you may help such a person by helping to narrate the commands for the buttons and then let him control the device using the mobile phone. Now, there are many features we can be talking about, and unfortunately, we don't have a time for that. So what I would like to ask you is, if you're interested in more details of how MyQ Roger can help you and your customers, go and watch the recording of our previous webinar on the topic, when I'm explaining all the details of the mobile phone and all the details and features of the embedded terminal. So now, what else you will be getting for the DWA license? Logically, the embedded terminal, which allows you to manage all the files, to scan to different storages, to manage all your jobs. Where we are talking about direct cloud printing, like we spoke about that before. You're able to download any file from your cloud storage. You can upload it to any location there because you're just browsing it directly from the panel of the MFD. It can print from the cloud or using a drivers. Like I said, we can go through the browsing, we can control it from the panel of the MFD or using the phone. And as it was mentioned in the beginning, the MS Universal Print integration is part of it. So if that's in your organization and you are using it, you will just be tapping on one of the tabs of the embedded terminal and you will see all your jobs that are currently available in your MS Universal Print account. You can also modify the buttons here. Basically, do anything you want to be efficient in your job. The last part of the license is the MRC, the MyQ Roger client. We'll speak about that in more details later, so I will just not waste my time and move to another topic. So to summarize it, by buying one digital workplace assistant license, you will get one embedded terminal and 40 MRCs, because we expect that around 40 users will be using your machine. If that's not the case and you will need more, there is another option, but we'll speak about that later. And of course, as it was mentioned in the beginning, it means almost unlimited number of mobile applications that can be used together with the whole setup. So that will be about the default license. But now the important part, the actual add-ons, where we'll be talking about the new features that are designed to help your customers to scale it for example, the enterprise customers and others. So as we speak about them, there is a new license which those of you that are our partners already have noticed as part of the price list, and that's the CPM, or Cloud Print Management. An option that allows you to actually manage the whole solution to additional extent, like the management through the cost centers, additional scanning workflows, and other options. Let's look at them a little bit closer. So again, little recap. The original MyQ Roger, or Digital Workplace Assistant, was really focused on the people that were on the road traveling and didn't need to be efficient when traveling. So giving them access to their files, allowing them to print on basically any machine in the system, to manage their scanning workflows the way they like it using their phone. But now we are moving to a slightly different environment. An environment of big companies working internationally with different branches, with different needs. And what to say? It may be better than I do, that in these organizations, allowing the user to define the workflows, to just, change it the way they like it, might not be that option because everything should be secured. They need to protect their data. They just need to make sure that anyone who gets on board will just get the right setup and will be able to start working efficiently as part of their position. So for these accounts and these users, there is the Cloud Print Management module, which allows you to get additional options like cost centers, the centralized workflow management as you've seen it in the MyQ, the MRC mobile app deployment, conditional access to and extended cloud storage security integrations. Now, in a bullet points, but let's move to another slide where I will just explain it in more details. So, when we're starting talking about this module, first we need to be able to define the cost centers. Now, in the MyQ, the MyQ Roger, the default one, the workplace assistant, you have the option to create groups, which were more to allow you to sort your users, to define different access policies and roles. Now in the CPM, it's been put into another level that you also have the cost centers, basically representation of your departments, of your accounting units, anything you actually need to be able to determine how much it costs to print something, how much the marketing is spending or other departments. Now, when we are defining the groups, if we are talking about the Enter ID, you can use the security groups or any other extension attributes to get them into your system. And of course, logical level of that is that when you've got the cost centers, when you're accounting on that, you will also get the reports that are covering these cost centers. So basically, you'll be adding a third type of reports, which will appear in your web UI, and that's the level of the cost center. Now, when I'm talking about that, there is another option, another really important thing. Now, the same way as it was in MyQ, MyQ Roger now introduces, as part of the 2.11 release, a new feature of the centralized workflow management, meaning that the same way like every user was able to do it on their phone, it's now been switched to more like corpo style, where the admin is the one who decides what you will be having, where, and how. And it's also up to the admin to decide if the user will be able to alter the settings or if it's just written in a stone and they will have to use exactly what you have prepared for them. So, same way like on the mobile, I can create my button, I can give it a name, set where it will be, what it will look like, or what will be the default parameters. You can see a very simple settings the very same way as it was in the mobile application. Just with the difference that the output could be that you can create different templates representing the settings you need for your company. And the advantage comparing it to the MyQ is that this time it's not just part of one screen, but here you can see each individual template and the options which are in there. So when it comes to the default template, which I've got here as an example, let's say we have created some default look which will be used by a majority of my users. It will automatically appear on their embedded terminal or on any mobile application. Now for marketing people, they have some special demands, special needs, because they're hiring some external people. For that reason, they'll need a special button called Scan to Google, allowing them to use the Google Drive as additional source. Now, in this case, this is not the actual profile of marketing, but we're just adding an extra option, which is available if you are a member of the marketing. So all of the people from marketing, they will get the default template plus one extra button. Or there could be another option, and that will be our receptionist. Again, hired by external agency, so we don't want that user to have many rights. So they will not even have access to the default template, but instead of that, a very limited one like scan to email and easy copy and nothing else. So as you can see, it could be quite powerful, and you can define a different workflows for different departments, different users. Another feature which comes as part of the CPM is the central management, and it's not only about the workflows, but this time about what can be used by whom and where. So first logical thing, as we are working with the mobile application, the full mobile management must be there, and it is as part of the CPM. So if you would like to use your Intune with your conditional access to allow the user only install it through a company portal with certain settings, you can do it because the application is prepared for it, allowing you to just deploy it the way you need it for your organization. Same thing when it comes to the MRC. You will just be able to deploy it using the Intune or any other domain policy, or just simply install it. It's up to you, up to your organization, how you will do it. There's one more feature related to drivers, but I will speak about that a little bit later when I will focus on the actual MRC. The last part I would like to mention here is the access control and secured policy. Now, in the let's say, digital workplace assistant application, you've seen that there are a lot of options like to scan to Google Drive, Dropbox, Box.com, or other locations. Now, logically, as part of the big organization, you don't want your users to be able to scan to their private accounts because, you have to secure your data. So that way, we'll probably just leave it the way that only company OneDrive will be the option available and anything else will be disabled. So the user will not be able to set their own account. They will not be able to define a connection to their OneDrive because it will be completely controlled using your policies. So that will be about the CPM, the second module of MyQ. Now the third one is the very special one, and it's about the single function printers, because so far we were talking about the multifunctions, about the devices with applications where anything can be controlled. But this one is, not that common, but there could be accounts where, I don't know, in their offices, or for example, doctors in the rooms, they would like to have some small desktop unit, which probably doesn't have the option to use any application. And they don't want to get rid of that. On the other hand, the management would like to get that monitored. So how to do it? Because, we're talking about a cloud, so there could not be anything that will be actually communicating with the device. In a case of the multifunction, is the application that establishes the connection, makes sure that everything is secured. But in a case of the single function device, this approach is simply not possible because there is nothing that would actually make sure that the communication can be authenticated, secured, or anything. So to be able to do it, we need another component within the local network that would take that role. And as you've probably guessed, that will be the role of the MRC. But before we will get to the MRC, there are a few more things we have to cover. Because on such a single function device, there also has to be an option to actually authenticate and release the job securely. So how to do it? First, the IT department must provide us with the hostname or IP address of that machine. Ideally, hostname for a case that the IP would change. Then, in the MyQ Roger, you have to create a profile of such machine using this information given by the IT staff. There comes another player in the game, and that's the NFC tag, which you can either buy yourself based on the provided specification or get it from us, from MyQ. Now, this NFC tag will be the key player, which will allow us to securely release the job on the machine. And of course, the mobile application. So what you will do, most of you probably guessed that already. You'll just use your mobile phone to program that NFC tag, assign it to the profile we have created in the web UI of Roger, and then just use a sticker and put it on the front of your single function device. And then we're going back to our MRC, which establishes the secure communication with the server. It also works as a spooling tool, so any job you will be printing gets spooled, stored, fully encrypted, and waiting on the hard drive of your computer. And there comes the mobile again. You'll just scan the QR code, and I don't believe I have to explain the rest. The job information is going to the cloud, is downloaded as part of the updates to the IMRC, which then checks the availability of the device you selected and sends the job to be printed. As easy as that. So I don't expect that this will be like a major part of the business, but for some customers, when they just would like to stick to their few single function devices on the tables of the managers, doctors, or whoever needs them, they can just use it as a nice add-on to all the nice MFDs you'll be installing. So that was about the single function printers. Now, another thing we wanted to talk about as part of today's presentation is the MRC module. Now, in the beginning, when we were talking about the Digital Workplace Assistant license, I've mentioned that every DWA license, or the Digital Workplace Assistant license, actually means that you'll be getting one embedded terminal and 40 MRC clients, which of course adds up. So if I'll have 5 devices, I will have 200 MRCs. But sometimes this might not be enough. And if you'll be reaching that situation that your customer needs more than the amount available based on the license, that's this special key, the MRC, where for small fee, where we'll basically let you use more MRCs in the high peaks. So if there'll be a lot of users at that very day, it wouldn't be a problem. You will just cover them as part of this special license. Now, to explain it completely, we definitely should not forget about one topic, and that's the software assurance. Now, the MyQ Roger is a SaaS subscription, so the standard support is included as part of it. But there might be situations, really important clients or really demanding clients, because, client always has the right to be demanding, where they will need, for example, much faster response times. Or because they're working in the high priority environment, like, for example, the hospital or, the airport, where, you cannot just stop the plane if you don't have all the staff. So in this case, there's an option per specific project to buy an extra types of licenses like the Premium Plus, which also offers the 24/7 hotline where support staff is ready to assist you pretty much anytime. So if the need will arise, you might just buy these extra modules for these customers. Now, important thing is, if you'll be interested in more details about the actual options available as part of these packages, I will just ask you to contact our sales department. They will be able to explain that in much more details than I will cover as part of today's presentation. So that's about the licenses, everything about them, all the features which were actually hidden behind all the different types, all the different IDs. Now let's look at other news, because it's not only about these, but about additional improvements based on our own ideas or based on feedbacks from the field. So let me first focus on the embedded terminal. Now, as part of the upcoming release 2.11, not only we have changed few things when it comes to the web UI, but most importantly, we have focused on the embedded terminal, because that's the thing, that's the place what the user actually interacts with the solution mostly. So first, it's about the graphical revamp rehash. So it's completely new, providing additional features. Like what you've seen before, there's an option to actually browse all the cloud storages, ideally directly from the panel, of course, depending on the options provided by the admin. Like we spoke about that, if there will be the CPM, the management part, some of these options might not be available because simply your admin has not allowed you to use them. On the other hand, when you'll be scanning, and it doesn't matter if it is a button which is on the screen, or if you'll be just browsing your cloud storage and selecting some subfolder, when you do that, and when you will press and hold, you'll be able to change the properties. Now, this actual view has been redesigned to be a little bit more user-friendly. So as you can see, all the nice graphics, all the options like to provide a password for your file, compression, duplex, format, everything is much better for the user to understand, so they don't have to really look for some different menus, which might also be different per brand of the device used. This way, everything is unified and user-friendly. As you can see, for example, when it comes to the settings of sharpness, contrast, or other settings. Now, another really important improvement I have to mention as part of today's presentation is the new MRC. We've briefly touched that already, but there are a few things I have to mention separately. Because maybe you've noticed new MRC has been recently released, now with an important change that it's not only available for the MS Windows, but also for the macOS users. The features behind these solutions or behind these applications are kind of similar, so except for the slightly different look, which is based on the platform where it's used, the user will not actually see any difference. There comes actually one more important feature, and that's the driver deployment. Now, what could be really annoying when you would like to use the MRC to print is to, install drivers and everything. And in the past, it might have been quite annoying for the macOS users. Luckily, with the new MRC, it's no longer like that. So first, let me start with the way how it can be deployed. We can just use it as part of the Intune installation, use domain policies, or even install it manually. But the most important thing is, whenever it's installed using any of these options, it's not only installing the application, but also it will create a printer and install a driver in your computer or Mac. So if you are in the environment where you need the MRC, like for example in the co-working where you will just go there, pay a rent for your office for a limited time, you don't have to set anything. You will just get one installation file, you will run it, and it will install everything for you. And the most important thing is that it even allows you to select the right driver you would like to use, because now the MRC is prepared to actually provide the right driver. So if you'll be using HP, Ricoh, or Kyocera, it doesn't matter. You can just select the one you need. Now, for the rest of the improvements, so we spoke about the MRC, we spoke about the new licensing, but there's another improvement I definitely have to mention. There might be minor ones, but they're actually done based on the feedbacks from the field. So the first one, which will be from the corporate environment, will be the option to actually scan to SharePoint Online. So you'll be able to define the default page and use the SharePoint Online as one of the scanning storages in the MyQ Roger. Another one, which was done together with one of our partners, is the option to actually have the UI in Estonian. So anyone from Estonian market, hello, now you can have it in your own language. And that applies for both the UI and the embedded terminal. And I'm worried the 2.11 update is coming out soon. There are also a few more features that will be added as part of the customer feedback, and I just would like to mention them. They will not be actually part of the upcoming release, but that will be also out pretty soon. So, I just think they are worthy mentioning. One of them was the actual complaint about the MRC. Because the MRC is designed the way that you will spool everything locally on your computer, and then you will just pick it up when you're at the machine, which works in most of the cases perfectly fine. But in some environments, it kind of might be a problem. And it's not actually about the environment, but imagine a situation. I'm really hurrying for the next meeting. I don't have my time. I just need to, send the file to the printer, work over the corridor. Then when I'm at the machine, I will just swipe the card, release the file, grab it, and run for the meeting. And at that moment, I definitely do not want to wait to get the file downloaded from my computer. So for these accounts, for other situations like it, where simply there might be an option that the computer will no longer be available on the network, this feature can be actually quite handy. Because it starts the very same way like the standard communication of the MRC. It's connected to the MyQ Roger. Normally, it would spool it and store it locally, but if this option is activated, it will actually upload it into your cloud storage, ideally your company's OneDrive for Business. Then you can turn off your computer, and it will no longer be relevant because, the file is already up there in the cloud, so the only thing you have to do is authenticate on the machine, and the file will get downloaded directly into your device. So, you can stay online. You don't need your computer any longer, even if you are using the drivers and the MRC. Another improvement I would like to mention as part of today's presentation is an option to, change the way we are able to download the logs. Now, there are minor differences when downloading the logs from different components of MyQ Roger, like different terminals or the MRC. There's a way how to collect them, but sometimes in a slightly different way based on the platform. And we just wanted to get rid of that to make it more simple in a case that something would potentially not perform the way you like it, to allow that be downloaded centrally. So, you can just connect again to the web UI from whenever you are. You do not have to be in the office if you're the admin for the company, and you'll be able to just download all the logs from all the components using the web console of your MyQ Roger tenant you're currently using, and then just post it to the ticket to our support. So that was all about the new features, about the things that you will see pretty soon that you can expect as part of 2.11. But it wouldn't be right if we would not have mentioned the actual roadmap or the things that will be coming soon and are quite game-changing from my perspective. Because this time we'll be talking about the MyQ NeXt. Some of you may probably know what is it about, but for those of you who do not, let me just explain. When it comes to MyQ, we currently have two main products, the MyQ Roger and the MyQ X. Oh, I actually mentioned them differently. So first the MyQ X, then the MyQ Roger. Doesn't matter. Two products, each of those currently focusing on slightly different markets, on slightly different approach in handling the documents, scannings, and everything. MyQ X, it's more for the big corporate environment with full control, where there's a large amount of data that must be processed. There's a OCR where you need to get the data out of the document and process it accordingly. So that needs a lot of processing power. So it's probably will be used as an on-premise solution or solution which will be in the private cloud. On the other hand, MyQ Roger focuses on people which are working in the public cloud, which prefer to have everything available from whenever they are, to be able to connect to it if they're on board the aircraft, if they are on a bus, if they are in the office, pretty much from anywhere where the connection to the internet can be used. So each of those has their own differences, their own approaches, their own advantages. And the logical step would be then to use the advantages of both these solutions and get everything on board as part of one big package, the MyQ NeXt. So let me just show you the idea which is behind that, the way the MyQ products are about to develop and improve, so you can use it at even wider, wider amount of users that will be on board. So if we'll be talking about the both of the products, you can see the summary here. I've already mentioned that quickly, but instead of that, let's focus on the actual ways where those can be used. So starting first on this little diagram. Here we've got different approaches to how it will be managed and handled. We've got here the single tenant and multi-tenant environments. Basically, we'll be talking about the on-prem or private cloud and the multi-tenancy, which will be the public cloud. Both the small companies and the enterprise accounts as well. Now, if we look at the left side, we'll be talking more about the single tenants. We're talking about the MyQ X. On the right side, it's about the cloud, logically, the MyQ Roger. So the idea is to really connect these two worlds, especially for the enterprise environments, where we'll be talking about people that will be sitting in the office doing their 9-to-5 job, just sitting in the office. But at the same time, there'll be a lot of people that will actually travel, like the salespeople, the insurance agents, anyone that needs to travel for their job. And these people must be able to work efficiently. And logically, it doesn't make sense to have these two worlds completely separated, because what you want is to be able to share the users, share the rights, or even share the environment. If I'll be returning from my business trip, I just don't want to switch to a different system to print my jobs, to print my documents I've collected or prepared throughout the business trip. So to be able to do that, a logical step to make these two words kinda one, and that will be the MyQ NeXt. Not only connected in this way, but thanks to MyQ Portal, also connected through the central management. So you will have like a completely different solutions, but in the end, it will be just one, providing you two different approaches. And this whole big package, as you do now, you'll be able to control from one central point, which is a partner portal where you can manage all your accounts or your projects. You can buy all the licenses and everything will be done in one place, just like that. So it doesn't matter which users will be there. You can just easily adjust it and modify it per the changes in the infrastructure of the company. Now, if we will look at some technical diagrams of what the switch to the MyQ NeXt might mean, because logically it will not be like that from now on, it will be one system. But there are a few steps we have to do in the middle to make sure that they can actually interact. I will start with the MyQ NeXt and its first thing. Now, if you know MyQ NeXt well as I do, you know that one of the potential, we can call it pains, was that if you were working in the multinational environment with different sites, you are actually defining each site as a separate service which are connected to central. Of course, you can replicate a setting, so you'll just define one and then just replicate it to others, but still, those are like individual servers connected and just reporting to the central server. The first step of MyQ NeXt is actually to get rid of this level. Because when it comes to the site servers, there should not be any settings, there should not be any profiles, stuff, nothing. So the first thing is to replace the site servers by something more efficient, and that will be the MyQ client or MyQ client server, basically replicated or represented by the queue, which you can see as part of a diagram. This local agent or local client will simply be deployed from the central server to establish the communication to make sure everything is running, even in a time where the central server will not be available for some reason. So it will act as a site server, but all the management will be done on the central. And even if such a local agent, in a case that worst scenario will happen, and the local site would be completely lost because of some hardware failure, it's not a big deal. We will just deploy another one and you will continue working. So that will be like the first step. Now, logically, there's another step, and that will be to make sure it can actually communicate with the rest of the environment. So one of the next steps, which we are planning to actually deploy, is to make sure that these clients will be able to work also with the MyQ Roger. So the local agent, as we saw it for the MyQX, imagine that in a future this one will be part of the Roger infrastructure. So you can have users working the way they do in the Roger, so nothing will be installed at that location. They will be traveling. But at the same time, that could be one site or two sites, depending on the actual organization, where that will be users working the way they used to in the MyQX. Simply because of the fact that they need more processing power on the server, for example, because they are scanning large files that then needs to be processed by the OCR, analyzed, and the data must be extracted and sent to the right destination. So that way, we can actually combine these two worlds into one. And that's actually the last slide of my today's presentation. So now, it's time for your questions, and for that, I will actually ask you to use the QA, which is part of the Microsoft Teams. So you'll be able to see the little QA icon probably on top of your screen. So if anyone has any questions, I will just ask you, post them there, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. I'm sorry for that, but like I said, we have to stick to the schedule. So I'll just officially close this webinar. I would like to really thank you for spending your time together with us. And I hope that we will see each other next time at either some of our webinars, or, which I will be even more glad, at some real deal at the customer when we will be installing either MyQ X, MyQ Roger, or in the near future, the MyQ NeXt. Thank you again, and see you next time.